The anesthesia makes people honest. I learned that at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, scrubbing dried blood off operating room floors while a monster told me where he'd buried his money. They'd wheeled him out of OR7 20 minutes earlier. Gunshot wound, stable but sedated. Surgeon's gone, nurse is gone, just me and my mop bucket and disinfectant that never quite covered the smell of opened flesh. I was invisible. That was the point. Maya Chen, 32, master's in forensic accounting from Northwestern, reduced to cleaning emergencies for $11 an hour. The patient was still there, waiting for transport, mumbling through the chemical fog. Numbers, mostly. At first, I tried to tune it out, but then my hands froze because my brain had already started cataloging what I was hearing. 73928, routing through Nassau. Calabresi knows the protocols. Swift codes, international banking terminology, offshore account instructions. I should have kept mopping, should have gone home to my son, but I couldn't, because I recognized this. Money laundering architecture, shell company structures, systematic liquidation designed to avoid audit flags. 3 years ago, I would have been investigating this, pulling apart fraud schemes, following money through corporate labyrinths. Before Richard Holloway decided my ethics were inconvenient, before the embezzlement accusation appeared in my file, before every firm stopped returning my calls. Now I pushed mops and pretended my brain didn't work. 47 million. 18 months. Volkov doesn't know we know. My phone was in my pocket. My fingers moved before I could stop them, opening voice memo, recording. The patient's mumbling faded. I finished mopping, my mind already building spreadsheets, tracing patterns, mapping shell companies from sedated fragments. I was almost to the door when I heard it. You were listening. Not a question, a statement. I turned. His eyes were open, fully awake, anesthesia wearing off faster than it should. Dark eyes, sharp and calculating, the kind that had watched people die and felt nothing. Maybe 55, silver threading through dark hair. Our gazes locked. My heart stopped. He didn't move, didn't call security, didn't threaten, just watched me with the patience of a predator. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. His lips curved. Not quite a smile. Something colder. Yes, you do. The monitor beeped. The sound of my life splitting into before and after. I should have apologized, should have begged, should have demeaned the recording and pretended to be nobody, nothing, invisible. Instead, I met his gaze and said nothing. Because some part of me, the part that used to matter, the part that used to solve impossible puzzles, knew this was my only chance. He studied me for 10 seconds, then his eyes closed, breathing deepened, and he was asleep again. But I knew. He knew I'd heard, and he'd let me walk away. The countdown had begun. I just didn't know what I was counting down to. I came home at 1 a.m. smelling like disinfectant and fear. The apartment was dark except for blue glow from Diane's bedroom. She never slept well anymore, not since the accident. Not since I'd fallen asleep at the wheel 18 months ago, exhausted from a double shift, and woken to metal crumpling and my sister screaming. The wheelchair sat in the hallway like an accusation. I checked on Eli first. 8 years old, sprawled across his too small bed, clutching the thrift store bear. His face was peaceful, untouched by the reality that his mother cleaned hospital floors with a master's from Northwestern. "Mommy, why do you clean floors when you're the smartest person in the world?" He asked me that weekly. Every time it felt like swallowing glass. In my bedroom, I pulled out my phone and played the voice memo again. 73928, routing through Nassau. Calabresi knows the protocols. My laptop was open, surrounded by financial journals I couldn't afford. The walls were covered in articles printed at the library, cryptocurrency trends, offshore banking, shell company structures, remnants of who I used to be. 3 years ago, I was Maya Chen, senior analyst at Thornton and Associates, the woman who'd cracked the Meridian Capital fraud case. 3 years ago, Richard Halloway cornered me in the executive washroom and told me he could make me partner if I'd be reasonable about dinner. I filed a complaint and watched my world detonate. The embezzlement accusation appeared 2 weeks later. $40,000 allegedly transferred to an account I'd never opened. Halloway's work. He'd had access to everything. But proving it required lawyers I couldn't afford. The firm let me resign quietly, and the whispers followed me everywhere. She stole from clients. She fabricated harassment to cover it up. No firm would touch me. My reputation was ash. So I pushed mops and pretended my brain didn't work. Except it did. It couldn't stop. I played the recording again, opened a spreadsheet, started mapping what I'd heard against SEC filings, banking records, corporate databases. First night, 7 shell companies. Second night, transactions traced through 3 countries to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Third night, I found him. Victor Calabresi, senior accountant, 23 shell companies, $47 million liquidated over 18 months, moved in increments designed to avoid audit flags. Every transaction pointed to accounts controlled by someone named Volkov. The patient from OR7, I'd looked up his chart, was Giovanni Russo. The name meant nothing until I searched it and found articles about Chicago's organized crime families. I stared at my laptop, at the elegant architecture of embezzlement I'd reconstructed from sedated fragments, and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Alive. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Russo would like to speak with you. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., Mercy General, 5th floor. Come alone. My hand shook. This was insane. Suicide. Everything I'd sworn to avoid after losing everything once. But I looked around my apartment. Thrift store furniture, medical bills for Diane, the eviction notice giving us 30 days. Eli's school photo on my nightstand, his gap tooth smiled bright with hope I'd forgotten existed. I texted back, "I'll be there." Then I started writing my presentation. If I was walking into the lion's den, I was doing it with proof that I was more than just a cleaner who'd overheard something she shouldn't have. I was going to show Giovanni Russo exactly how smart I still was, even if it killed me. The sun came up while I worked. Eli would wake soon, asking for breakfast, asking his impossible questions. I didn't have good answers anymore. But maybe, after tomorrow, I'd have something better. Maybe I'd have a chance. I spent the morning with Eli, making dinosaur pancakes and pretending my hands weren't shaking. He asked if I was okay. I told him I had an important meeting. The lie tasted like ash. Diane watched me put on my interview suit, the navy one from when the world still made sense. Her eyes knew I was doing something dangerous. "Be careful," she said. Another lie. Always. The 5th floor of Mercy General didn't look like the rest of the hospital. Marble floors, soft lighting, private suites where people with secrets came for discretion. The hallway was empty, except for a man in an expensive suit outside room 512. He was large in a way that suggested violence held carefully in check. Dark eyes cataloged everything. Cheap suit, desperate posture, laptop clutched like a life preserver. Maya Chen? Yes. He patted me down, confiscated my phone, opened my laptop. When satisfied, he knocked twice. 5 minutes. Don't waste them. Giovanni Russo didn't look like a monster. Silver threading through dark hair, sharp features, the kind of face that belonged in boardrooms rather than crime scenes. But his eyes were wrong. Too calculating, too cold. "Miss Chen," his voice was smoke and expensive whiskey. "The cleaner with the interesting hobby? The forensic accountant who saved you $47 million? The large man stepped forward. "Mr. Russo." Russo raised one hand. Instant silence. Show me. I opened my laptop with shaking hands. 3 days of work, shell company structures mapped like family trees, transaction flows color-coded, 23 accounts bleeding money in increments designed to avoid audit flags. Victor Calabrese, your accountant, I pointed to the center. 18 months of systematic liquidation. The money flows through these shells and ends here, offshore accounts controlled by the Volkov syndicate. Russo studied the screen. His expression didn't change, but something shifted. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. How do you know you didn't fabricate this? Every transaction is verifiable through public filings. The account numbers match what you mentioned under anesthesia. The timing aligns with market fluctuations that masked the movement. I met his eyes. I didn't make this up. I put the pieces together. And now you know things that could get you killed. Not a threat, an observation. This was the moment, the cliff's edge. Because I'm more valuable alive. You have a problem you didn't know existed. I solved it. That means you have other problems you don't know about. I can find those too. The large man made a noise that might have been a laugh or a warning. Russo remained unreadable. What's your angle? To stop being invisible. The words came out hard, sharp, with 3 years of bitterness. I have a master's from Northwestern. I used to audit Fortune 500 companies. Then a man decided I was too ethical, and now I scrub floors while my son asks why I'm the smartest person in the world. I closed the laptop. I want to be seen again. I want to matter. Russo studied me. 10 seconds that felt like 10 years. Then he looked at the large man. Tony. Get her information. We'll be in touch. No commitment, no promises, just dismissal. But as I turned to leave, I caught his reflection in the window, still watching, and there was something in his expression I recognized. Interest. The large man, Tony, escorted me to the elevator, handed me back my phone. You've got balls. Stupid, but balls. The elevator doors closed. I'd done it. I'd made Giovanni Russo see me. Whether that would save me or kill me remained to be seen. Russo watched the cleaner disappear into the elevator. Everything. I want to know what she eats for breakfast and why she needs the money. You're actually considering this. I'm considering why someone with her credentials is scrubbing hospital floors. I'll have a report by morning. Make it 6 hours. I went back to being invisible. Night shift at Mercy General. Mop bucket, disinfectant, the same endless hallways. Except now I kept looking over my shoulder, waiting for something. A bullet, a thank you, oblivion. 3 days passed. Nothing. Eli asked why I kept checking my phone. I told him I was waiting about a job. He drew me a picture of a lady in a superhero cape. I taped it to the refrigerator and tried not to cry. I didn't know that while I pushed my mop cart, someone was pulling my life apart like a spreadsheet. Tony's report landed on Russo's desk at 2 a.m. 53 pages. Maya Chen, full scholarship to Northwestern, top of her class, senior analyst by 28, cracked the Meridian Capital case, 20 million in fraud exposed. Rising star. Then, Richard Holloway, harassment complaint. 2 weeks later, embezzlement accusation. No charges, but Maya Chen resigned. Blacklisted. The timing was too perfect. Sister, Diane Chen, car accident. Driver, Maya. Spinal injury, permanent paralysis. Medical bills, $340,000. Son, Eli Chen, age 8. Father, whereabouts unknown, no child support. Current debt, $430,000. Eviction notice, 30 days. Russo closed the file. She's desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. Desperate people are predictable. She's brilliant, she's drowning, and she came to me. The question is, why? Maybe she just wants a job. Nobody risks their life for a job. She wants vindication. She wants to prove she's not what that man made her. That kind of hunger is useful. Victor Calabrese received the summons at midnight. A car. 2 men. The warehouse on the south side. Russo was waiting. The Chen woman. She's lying. Those accounts are exactly where she said they were. Russo's voice was quiet. Quiet was worse than shouting. 18 months, Victor. 47 million. The Volkovs. Victor went pale. Gio, I can explain. I'm not interested in explanations. Russo walked out. The sound of a silenced gunshot followed him into the night. Dmitry Volkov realized something was wrong when Victor missed his Tuesday call. By Wednesday, he knew. The Chen woman. A cleaner. A nobody. A nobody who just cost him his inside man and $47 million. Find her, Dmitry told his lieutenant. And then we send a message about what happens when civilians play in our world. Marco Russo found his father at 3 a.m., Victor's file open. The cleaner. You're actually thinking about bringing her in? I'm thinking about solutions to problems. She's a liability. She knows too much. She's not family. Not even what? Connected. She's nobody. You bring her in, people will talk. Russo looked at his son. 27. Expensive suit. Expensive everything. None of it earned. People always talk. The question is whether they respect you enough to only talk behind your back. Marco's jaw tightened. We don't know her. We can't trust her. We didn't know Victor either. Apparently, we shouldn't have trusted him. That's different. Is it? Victor had 20 years with us. Maya Chen has 3 days and a spreadsheet. Guess which one stole from me? Marco left without another word. Russo returned to the window. Somewhere out there, Maya Chen was scrubbing floors, unaware that her life was about to change, unaware that the Volkovs were already looking for her, unaware that she'd just started a war. The call came 2 weeks later. A text from Tony. Mr. Russo would like to meet. Today, 2 p.m. Russo's office was downtown, marble lobbies and security that didn't ask questions. Tony led me to the penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago sprawling below. Russo stood by the window. Healthier now. Dangerous. He slid a folder across the desk. A contract. Financial consultant. Salary? $180,000. Benefits? Health insurance? Housing? Personal security. Triple what you're making now, plus protection for your family. Your sister's medical bills disappear. Your eviction disappear. You do what you do best, and you're compensated fairly. I stared at the numbers. And in exchange? Loyalty, discretion. You become part of this world. The criminal world. The real world. You've been living in it for 3 years, Maya. Your former boss broke you because he could. The system didn't protect you. I'm offering you protection the system can't provide. I need time to think. 24 hours. I left, trying to figure out if I was considering a job offer or selling my soul. I picked up Eli from school at 3:15. He showed me a drawing of a dinosaur, asked if I'd gotten the job. What makes you happy? I asked. You, he said, when you smile like you used to. I dropped him at Diane's, told him I'd be back in 2 hours. I didn't know those would be the last words I'd ever say to my son. The call came at 4:47 p.m. Diane's voice, screaming. School, shooting, hospital. I ran, but I was already too late. They let me see him in the morgue. 8 years old, 4 bullet wounds, professional, a black SUV, no plates. One witness heard the shooter, Tell the accountant this is what happens when civilians play Mafia games. I stopped hearing anything after that. 3 days later, I was sitting in my apartment in the dark. Diane was sedated. The funeral was tomorrow. I had a bottle of pills in my hand. Eli's prescription. 30 pills. More than enough. I was trying to remember why I shouldn't take them all when someone knocked. I didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Russo walked in, looked at me, looked at the pills. He sat down across from me, didn't take them away, just sat there in the dark. The Volkovs did this, he said, quiet. They found out you helped me. They wanted to send a message. I said nothing. They will do worse if you're left unprotected. They'll come for your sister next. Make it slow. Make sure you watch. Still nothing. I can give you 2 things, Maya. Safety for your sister and vengeance for your son. He leaned forward. But only if you stop being a civilian and become one of us. I looked at him. This man who'd brought death into my life. This man offering me death as a solution. Will they suffer? Yes. Will I be the one to make them suffer? If that's what you want. I looked at the pills, then at Russo. I threw the pills across the room. Teach me. Russo nodded once. We start tomorrow. The old Maya Chen died in that moment, the one who believed in rules and justice and doing the right thing. What remained was something harder, something colder, something that would burn the Volkovs to ash, even if it burned me too. Diane was moved to North Shore Private Care on a Tuesday. 24-hour nursing, physical therapy, a room overlooking Lake Michigan. She asked where the money came from. I told her I'd taken the job. She looked at me like a stranger. Be careful. Too late for that. Russo's world operated on rules I'd never learned. Hierarchies, soldiers, capos, consiglieres, codes, omerta, silence that protected or condemned, territories violently defended. The Volkov syndicate, Russo said, spreading photos. Dmitry Volkov, late 60s, cold eyes, former KGB. Legitimate businesses fronting weapons trafficking, drugs, money laundering. They wanted my territory. Victor was first. Your son was second. I stared at Dimitri's photo, memorized every line. What's their third move? War. They think I'm weak. Russo looked at me. They're about to learn they made me stronger. Tony Marconi taught me to shoot in a warehouse basement that smelled like gun oil and old blood. Shooting someone on paper is easy. Shooting someone who's shooting back is different. You need to be calm, clinical. If you hesitate, you die. I won't hesitate. He looked at me, saw something that made him nod. No, I don't think you will. We moved from paper targets to situational drills, how to spot threats, recognize surveillance, think like prey and predator, kill quietly, efficiently, without hesitation. I absorbed everything. I didn't sleep much. Eli's face was waiting in the dark, and I couldn't face him yet. 6 weeks in, Russo called me to his office. My son Marco, what do you think? I'd met Marco 3 times. Expensive suits, no substance. He's entitled, lazy, thinks the organization exists to serve him. Russo smiled, not happy. You're direct. I asked. Marco is my blood, but blood doesn't make you capable. I built this over 40 years. I'm not watching him destroy it in 5. So why tell me? Because I'm looking for someone who can modernize this empire, someone who understands finance, technology, legitimate structures, someone motivated by more than money. Revenge isn't a good long-term motivation. No, but it's an excellent short-term catalyst. Russo raised his glass. After revenge, we'll find you something else. I drank. Everything burned. My first assignment came 2 months after Eli's funeral. Russo handed me complete access to the organization's finances. Find the vulnerabilities, tell me how to fix it. I spent 3 weeks in spreadsheets. The organization was a sloppy labyrinth. Too many people with too much access, too many places where one betrayal could cascade. I built a new structure, compartmentalized, encrypted, each layer isolated. I identified 17 security risks, people like Victor. 17 people need removing, I told Russo and Tony. 9 relocated, the offshore structure rebuilt, and Marco kept away from operational finances. Russo studied my work. You're recommending I remove my son? I'm recommending you give him a title and keep him away from anything that matters. Tony coughed. Might have been a laugh. Russo looked at me, then nodded. Implement it. The 17 removals? I'll handle that personally. I knew what that meant. 17 people who would disappear like Victor. I felt nothing. That night, I looked at Eli's picture, his gap-toothed smile. I'm doing this for you, I whispered. But I wasn't sure if that was true. I was doing this because I was good at it, and because I'd stopped being Maya Chen entirely. I was becoming something else, something Russo needed, something the Volkovs would fear, the accountant. 6 months after Eli's funeral, I stopped being Maya Chen. They called me the accountant now. Russo's people said it with respect. The Volkovs said it with fear. Marco said it with contempt. I didn't care. I cared about numbers. Numbers didn't lie. Numbers didn't betray. The organization's finances were unrecognizable. Every account compartmentalized, every transaction encrypted, every vulnerability sealed. I'd identified 3 more leaks, all dealt with. Russo called it efficiency. Tony called it ruthless. I called it necessary. The counteroffensive began in a conference room on a Tuesday. Russo, Tony, Marco, 3 capos. I stood at the head with a presentation that would either get me killed or make me legendary. The Volkovs think this is a street war, I said. Territories and soldiers. They're wrong. This is a financial war, and I am going to win it without firing a shot. Marco scoffed. You're going to defeat them with spreadsheets? I'm going to starve them to death with spreadsheets. I clicked to the next slide. Everything flows through one infrastructure, cryptocurrency mining. I showed them the network, 11 mining facilities across 3 states, generating income that appeared legitimate while processing millions in dirty money. Collapse it, and their operation seized up. How? Russo asked. Cut the power, freeze the assets, alert federal authorities. I clicked again. Their facilities rely on industrial power contracts through shell companies, traceable to Volkov Holdings. One anonymous tip to the FBI, and those facilities become crime scenes. The Volkovs will know it was us, Tony said. They'll be too busy bleeding money. I looked at Russo. Phase 1, cripple their cash flow. Phase 2, take their territories. Phase 3, offer them a choice. Sell everything and leave Chicago, or burn. Russo smiled. Predator pined. When? I already started. The FBI received an anonymous package yesterday. Marco stood. You're going to bring federal heat? The package is untraceable. The evidence only points to the Volkovs. You made sure, Marco turned to his father. You're really going to let her gamble everything? She's been here 6 months. Sit down, Marco. Russo's voice was quiet. Marco sat. Russo looked at his son, then at me, then back. Maya has earned her place. You haven't. Prove me wrong or accept you'll serve under her someday. Silence. Marco's face went white, then red. Under her? I'm your son. Yes, and she's my soldier. The question is, which one of you understands what that means? Marco left. The door slammed. He'll be a problem, Tony said. He's already a problem. Russo looked at me. Show me everything. I worked alone now. Always. No partners. No one to trust. Tony tried once, asked if I wanted dinner, as friends. I said no. He didn't ask again. Diane called every week, asked if I was sleeping. I lied and said I was fine. She knew I was lying. I visited Eli's grave on Sundays, brought flowers, told him about the progress, how close I was to keeping my promise. I never told him what I'd become. Some nights I stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize the woman looking back. Hard eyes, sharp angles, no softness left. This was the cost, the price of vengeance. I'd become exactly what I needed to be, and I'd lost everything that made me human. The Volkov's cryptocurrency network collapsed on a Friday. FBI raids, asset freezes, headlines about fraud. By Monday, they'd lost $30 million. By Wednesday, their soldiers were panicking. By Friday, Dmitry Volkov knew who was responsible. And the real war began. The FBI raided the first cryptocurrency facility Monday at 6 a.m. By noon, they'd seized servers from 3 more. By evening, 42 million in Volkov assets were frozen. I watched from Russo's office. Phase 1 complete. Russo stood by the window. How long before they connect it to organized crime? They already have. The package included documentation linking the operations to Volkov companies. I pulled up a new screen, which gives us time for Phase 2. Cryptocurrency markets are fragile. A single large sell-off triggers panic. Multiple coordinated sell-offs trigger collapse. I'd spent 3 months building positions in the exact cryptocurrencies the Volkovs used, small purchases through untraceable accounts. When ready, I sold everything at once. The market crashed. The Volkovs watched 20 million evaporate in 6 hours. The remaining holdings lost half their value by close. Tony found me at midnight. The Volkovs are bleeding. Soldiers haven't been paid. We're hearing defections. Good. How many lieutenants operational? 6, down from 12. Make it 3 by Friday. Tony nodded. That was his war. This was mine. Phase 3 was cruelest. Everyone has protection. Police on payroll, politicians in pockets. The Volkovs had spent decades building their network. I dismantled it in 2 weeks. I started small. A beat cop who took cash, an evidence clerk who made reports disappear. I sent documentation to Internal Affairs, the FBI, Justice. Then I moved up, a state senator with offshore accounts, a judge whose mortgage had been paid by Volkov Real Estate, a deputy police chief who'd received $200,000 for nothing. Each exposure triggered investigations. Each investigation removed protection. Within 3 weeks, the Volkovs went from untouchable to radioactive. Politicians returned donations, police made arrests, judges handed down maximum sentences. The empire wasn't just losing money, it was losing legitimacy. Dmitry Volkov called for a meeting Thursday. Neutral ground, no weapons. Russo asked if I wanted to come. I said yes. We met in a closed restaurant. Dmitry sat with 2 bodyguards. He looked older, tired, a man watching his life's work dissolve. You're using the federal government as a weapon. That's not how this world works. That's exactly how this world works. You just never learned how. Dmitry's eyes found me. The accountant. You killed my accountant. I killed your son. We're even. We're not even. Then what do you want? Everything. Your territories, operations, assets. You sell it all for 30 cents on the dollar and leave Chicago. Permanently. And if I refuse? Next week, federal agents arrest you for money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder. I have documentation linking you to 17 crimes. You'll die in prison. I leaned forward. Or take the deal, keep some money, and disappear. Dmitri looked at Russo. You're really gonna let her speak for you? She is speaking for me. The old man's hands trembled. You brought a civilian into our world. She doesn't understand the rules, doesn't respect the codes. The codes didn't save Victor, didn't save your empire. The codes are dead, Dmitri. Dmitri stood, his bodyguards tensed. I need 3 days. You have 48 hours. He left. Russo looked at me. You're not giving him a choice. No. Good. We left. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, just cold certainty that another phase was complete. The Volkov Empire was collapsing. The war was almost over. And I was still counting bodies in spreadsheets, calculating vengeance in dollars and blood. Some nights, I wondered if Eli would recognize me. Most nights, I didn't let myself wonder. They came at dawn. 20 men. Breached Russo's compound with explosives. The Volkovs were out of options. Desperation warfare. I was in the war room when shots fired. Tony grabbed my arm. We made it halfway before the lights went out. Red emergency lighting. Hell. Stay behind me. We moved through smoke and gunfire. Then something hit me from behind. When I opened my eyes, I was being dragged through a breach. They threw me in a van, zip-tied my hands, drove. The warehouse smelled like oil and rust. Dmitri Volkov stood in the center, looking like a man who'd already died. Hollow eyes, trembling hands. The accountant, finally. They pushed me into a chair. Dmitri circled. Do you know what you've cost me? 80 years, 3 generations, and you destroyed it with spreadsheets. 7 months, if you count the investigation. His hand cracked across my face, blood in my mouth. I smiled. Did it feel good, ordering my son's death? Was it just business when your men shot an 8-year-old? It was a message. He was 8 years old. I didn't kill him myself. I gave an order. That's different. No, it's not. Dmitri pulled a gun. I'm going to kill you. Slowly. You're not going to kill me. No, because you're going to prison. I leaned forward. I've been wearing a wire since the restaurant. Every word, every threat. The FBI has been listening to this entire conversation. Dimitri's face went pale. You're lying. Check the building. Count the black SUVs. He ran to the window, froze. Federal vehicles, dozens, surrounding the warehouse. I didn't want to kill you. Death is too easy. I smiled, blood on my teeth. I wanted you to live long enough to watch everything you built get seized, every asset. I wanted you in federal prison, knowing that a cleaner with a spreadsheet destroyed 3 generations of your family's work. You! His hand shook. The gun rose. The window exploded. Tony came through, firing twice. Both shots hit Dimitri's leg and shoulder, non-lethal. Russo had been clear. He dies in prison, not by our hands. Dmitri collapsed. FBI, drop your weapons. Federal agents flooded in. I stayed in my chair, zip-tied, playing victim. An agent cut me loose, asked if I was okay. I said yes, said the Volkovs had kidnapped me, said I didn't know anything. They believed me. I was just a civilian caught in crossfire. Tony was already gone. The agents would find Dmitri shot but alive, weapons scattered, men surrendering. They'd find the wire recording I'd planted. They'd find evidence linking him to 17 murders, 80 million in money laundering. They'd find everything, except my involvement. I watched them load Dmitri into an ambulance, cuffed to the gurney. He saw me. Our eyes met. He knew. He knew I'd planned every second. The wire, the ambush, Tony's arrival, the non-lethal shots. I'd built a trap more elegant than any cage. And I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just cold certainty that I'd kept my promise to Eli. The Volkovs were destroyed. Dmitri would die in prison. Justice, of a sort. I'd won. But standing there, blood drying on my face, I couldn't remember what winning was supposed to feel like. All I knew was that I'd stopped being Maya Chen entirely, and I wasn't sure there was anything left to come back to. 6 months after Dmitry Volkov's arrest, Russo called me to his private residence, where he kept the things that mattered. Marco was already there. Older, thinner. Whatever fight had been in him had died. "Sit," Russo said. We sat. Wine older than I was, food I didn't taste. "Dmitry Volkov will die in federal prison," Russo said. "The syndicate is dissolved. Their territories are ours." He looked at me. "You did what 3 generations of soldiers couldn't." "I've fired plenty of shots. Just the wrong kind." Russo ignored him. "I'm 73. I built this from nothing, but empires evolve or they die." He paused. "Marco is my blood, but Maya is my future." The words hung like a verdict. Marco's jaw tightened. "So that's it? This isn't a family business anymore. It's a business that involves family. Maya understands that. You don't. She's been here 2 years and accomplished what you couldn't in 20. Russa's voice was final. "Maya will lead. You'll have a role, but she makes the decisions. She is the organization's future." Marco looked at me. I saw something die behind his eyes. "Fine. What do I call you?" "Maya is fine." Russo smiled. "Good. Now let me tell you what we're building." The vision was elegant. Take criminal profits and launder them through legitimate businesses: real estate, private equity, technology. Build an empire that looked clean while the machine underneath kept printing money. "In 20 years, Russo said, the Russo name won't be associated with crime, it'll be associated with philanthropy, business, power that doesn't need to hide." "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, we do what's necessary." He looked at me. "Can you do that? Keep 1 foot in each world?" I thought about Eli, about Diane, about the woman who'd scrubbed floors and believed in rules that didn't protect her. "Yes." "Then it's done." Russo raised his glass. "To the future." We drank. Marco left first. Russo stayed. "You know what this makes you." "Powerful, wealthy, untouchable." "Alone," he corrected. "Power isolates. I've been alone for 50 years. It's the price." "I already have." He nodded, left me at a table set for 3, drinking wine I couldn't taste. 2 years later, I stood on the balcony of my penthouse, 63rd floor, Chicago sprawling below like a circuit board, all networks only I could see. The empire thrived, legitimate businesses growing, criminal operations contained. Marco ran street operations, I managed everything else. I was 36, worth more than I could spend, commanded loyalty from people who'd never met me. The accountant, the queen, the woman who'd destroyed a dynasty with spreadsheets. Every Sunday, I visited Eli's grave, brought flowers, told him about the empire I'd built. I never told him that some nights I couldn't remember why any of it mattered. Diane was in the best care facility. She called once a week. We talked about nothing. She knew what I'd become. Tony checked in occasionally, made sure I was still human, in whatever way that mattered. I had everything I'd fought for, and nothing I'd started with. The city glittered below. Thousands of lives, none of them mine. I'd saved a Mafia organization, become its future, avenged my son, built something that would outlast me. The price was everything I was. But standing there, glass of wine in hand, Eli's face in my memory, I knew the truth. I'd pay it again. Every time. Because this, the power, the empire, the cold certainty of control, was all I had left. And it would have to be enough.
If you enjoyed the story, please like, share, and subscribe so you'll never miss a great story. Don't forget to comment if you want to know what happens next.